We're continuing with our series on All in the Mind. We completed 5+1 week on autosuggestion in spiritual healing, or autosuggestion in scientific prayer. I presented 5 lessons, with one of the lessons centered on guided healing meditation based on autosuggestion. So there were 6 sessions on autosuggestion. That sort of evolved into, and led us into me into feeling the need to move directly into this topic, all in the mind. All in the Mind is based on the teachings of Phineas Parkhurst Quimby, and also the book written based on Quimby's writings. And the title of the book is Mingling Minds, written by Ervin Seale. Ervin Seale is a popular New Thought writer who is the author of a number of books, and he thought it was necessary to write a book which was really a commentary on the Quimby manuscripts, simplifying some of the major concepts of Phineas Parkhurst Quimby. Phineas Parkhurst Quimby is known to be the father of metaphysics in the West, and he knew most of the denominational religions who are based on New Thought evolved out of the Quimbys out of the teachings of Phineas Parkhurst Quimby. And I conducted a series of lessons on Phineas Parkhurst Quimby about 4 years ago with you, and it included 18 weeks, or 18 sessions, 18 lessons. And what I will be doing now going forward for an unlimited number of weeks, or undetermined number of weeks, is a revisit of those lessons, a revisit of that teaching. And I also, that was about 3 or 4 years ago. But last year, I facilitated a workshop on All in the Mind in April of last year. And I am this will also be a revisit of that, including all of the lessons on Quimby. So if you're anything like me, you will, as we revisit and review those lessons, it will be like never hearing them before. And so I am so glad that Spirit is leading me back to them, because I am seeing so much more this time than I did last time. I noticed that Bill is not here tonight. So as soon as I'm off, I will be letting him know that I'll do everything that I can to facilitate him getting this lesson as soon as possible, because he follows the lessons really religiously. I'm going to bring up the handout for this lesson. I always send out the handout before the lesson begins to all of those who donate to support the ministry. So unfortunately, I can't send them out to you an hour or 2 hours of the day before, because I'm not complete with the lessons until 5 or 10 minutes before the session begins. So let me share the handout for tonight. It's All in the Mind, Part 2. Part 2. Last week's topic was It's All in the Mind, Part 1. And Part 1 was Sickness is not real. Sickness is not real. And so when I concluded last week, I had no idea what tonight's topic would be. And so I just left my mind open, and I was led back to a lesson that we did cover about a year ago. And the topic was, what is mind? What is mind? And some of the ideas that will be explored will be in understanding what mind is. Because, if each of us had the opportunity now to one by one to answer the question, what is mind? I'm going to ask you a rhetorical question. I don't need anybody to say anything. It's just, what would you say? I just like for you to think about it. How would you answer that question? What is mind? And I would say that you'd have a difficult time answering that question to your own satisfaction. You might come up with some dictionary definition or some commonly espoused definition, but you wouldn't be satisfied with your definition or with your explanation or sharing your understanding of what mind is. And I'm going to explain to you why. So some of the topics that will be some of the topics and ideas that will be covered will be, in order to understand what mind is, you have to explore mind and imagination. You have to explore mind versus intelligence. Is mind intelligence? Most people, if they would be asked to define what mind is, there would be some aspect or component of intelligence would blend into that understanding of what mind is, when the proper way of seeing it is mind versus intelligence, not mind and intelligence, and you will understand why. We will be exploring, and you will understand that mind is something, but it is nothing, and that nothing is spiritual matter. What is spiritual matter? Understanding mind as spiritual matter will open your mind to understanding the broadness and the universality of the meaning of mind. Mind is the medium. You already know this, but you don't know that mind is the medium. You have to explore how it is that sickness is unreal when we say it's all in the mind. And now and ultimately you will understand what disease is. What is disease? You don't know what disease is. You think that disease is the sickness, and disease is the thing that's making you sick. Well, that's why it's making you sick, because of your understanding of what you think it is. And as you're thinking of what disease is what makes you sick from disease. Where is the pain? Do you really know where pain is? That's what you learn through this series of lessons. It's all in the mind. It's in the mind. Oh, yeah? How is it in the mind? That's what we're learning through this teaching. And you don't understand what mind is if you don't have a spiritual understanding of what imagination is. So what is imagination? So let's go back to the top of the handout and remember that our working topic for tonight specifically is what is mind. Our operating topic is it's all in the mind. Our operating theme is it's all in the mind. It is all in the mind. A quote here from the book written by Ervin Seale, and the topic of his book is Mingling Minds. And his writing is based on the Quimby manuscripts, as I said. He says this about mind. An ancient Chinese answer of what mind is, quote, nobody knows, unquote. An ancient Chinese answer could be nobody knows. Nobody knows what mind is. So how could you answer the question, what mind is? Now you see why I said, if you were asked to explain or define what mind is, you would give an answer, but you wouldn't be completely satisfied with the answer that you gave if we went around and gave everybody an opportunity to tell what mind is. An ancient Chinese answer could be, nobody knows. Mental functions give evidence of the mind, but the mind itself is beyond description. It's like describing God. How can you describe God? It is said to define God, to describe God, is to limit God. The same is true with mind. It is like a light in the darkness. Mind makes visible a variety of objects and scenes, but mind itself is unknown. Perhaps that is why, he goes on to write, perhaps that is why so much is written about this term mind. But there is no precise definition of mind in our literature. Consult a dictionary or thesaurus, and you may be told that mind is intellect. And intellect means intelligence. And intelligence means having knowledge, and having knowledge is knowing. And knowing is consciousness, and consciousness is mind. And presently you come out the same door wherein you went. Philosophers throughout history have confused mind, soul, and spirit as being interchangeable. And that is the way it is now. And that is the way it was in the early 19th century when Quimby began to investigate the ways of mind and to find out what mind was. Now, so we spent 18 weeks on this subject. And remember, I always make it clear that what I want to learn, I teach. And especially if I'm dealing with some problem in my life, whether it is medical, physical, emotional, or otherwise, I teach that in order to learn. And I'm very successful at that. I'm very satisfied at the outcome. And mine was something that I wanted to learn more of from a metaphysical viewpoint. Healing was and is. And so that's why I went back to the Quimby manuscripts and went back to all of the authors and teachers that I have been following also. And so here we are again exploring it. And I'm understanding what mind is more clearly than I've ever understood before, seeing so much more this time around than I saw before. So Amon writes here, our goal is to solve the Socratic question. And you know, we've experienced this question because we've developed it together. What does real and unreal and does not exist mean? When you say sickness does not exist, pain does not exist, a problem in your life does not exist. Real, what does real and unreal and does not exist mean to me, a suffering person? How can I not believe that this sickness, this pain, this disease, this problem, this condition, this situation, this blockage to answered prayer is not real? Now, when you say it's all in your mind, what the heck are you saying to me? Well, let's begin. I said we're going to explore several basic ideas. Let's start with mind and imagination. Let's deal with mind. What is mind? Well, we can begin to define mind by telling you what mind is not. Mind is not a thing. Mind is not a substance as you understand substance, but it is a different type of substance, but not this kind of substance that you conjure up in your mind when you think of visualized substance. It's not that substance. It's not a thing. It's not substance. It's not a being. It's not an entity. It's not a place. It's not tangible or visible. Mind is. Mind is the medium. It's a medium, but it's not a medium. It is the medium. There's only one universal medium of creation. It's a creative medium, and mind is that medium of creation. It's an instrument. And Jesus called it the way. When he says, I am the way, he was talking about mind. Mind is a medium. It's the medium of God's creation in life. And you use that medium 24/7. That medium is active. You're always using that medium
That medium is the instrument of creation, and you're going to learn how you are using that medium. It's natural. You're using the medium all the time. It's the way. He says, I am the way. He wasn't talking about himself, Jesus the man. He says, I am the way. He wasn't talking about himself. The way is the I am. Mind is the medium for divine intelligence, but it starts off by saying it's divine intelligence before we get to this last line in this sentence, the last phrase in this sentence. We're going to talking about God and man. Watch how it unfolds here. It's talking about God and man. We say all things are possible with God. Well, we go to the old church, or your old understanding is that all things are possible. God can do all things. The scripture says, for with God, all things are possible. God and man, God through man, and that is what this sentence is saying. It's through mind. That's the way. Mind is the medium for divine intelligence and the instrument of God and the way of creation through which God's purpose and will and man's divine destiny is fulfilled and achieved. How so? By man's thoughts and feelings. How so? Through the faculty of imagination. And what is that? Which is a function of God in man. That's a heavy sentence created by this dude, Amon. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. But this statement was evolved over the years that we've been together teaching here. That's a powerful quote there. That's a powerful statement. It's all inclusive right there. It's profound. I hope you have the handout. I hope you meditate on it. I hope you review it. And it will be repeated a number of times throughout this session. Now, it starts off with this something. What's something that we're talking about that's mentioned here in that paragraph before? This something that is no thing. This mind, this something. Mind is this something. This something that is no thing and is called mind is created and is subject to and governed by man's imagination to bring into form whatsoever man desires when he prays. Whatsoever things ye desire when ye pray, believe that ye receive them and you shall have them. That's that scripture, and that scripture being explained. This something that is no thing and is called mind is created and is subject to and governed by man's imagination to bring into form whatsoever man desires when he prays. What is this something? Mind. That's what mind does. Now, I said there are several ideas that we are to explore to understand what mind is. And when we pull all of this together, we understand what mind is. So that we started off with the question of what is mind? Well, what is imagination? Colossians, first chapter, verses 26 and 27 read, the mystery hid from the ages. And Neville quoted this scripture often in his writings in order to teach imagination. Imagination is the fundamental concept that flows through all of Neville's writings, imagination. And this scripture is repeated often throughout his books and in his writings. He quotes this often, Colossians 1, 26 and 27. The mystery hid from the ages, Christ in you, the hope of glory, is your imagination, he says. The mystery hid from the ages, Christ in you, the hope of glory. This is the mystery, he says, which I am ever striving to realize more keenly myself and to urge upon others. He wasn't even satisfied with the level of understanding this that we're talking about himself, for as much as he knew, and as much as he knew, he was teaching and sharing with others. But he saw that there was still more to grasp and to understand and open up to understand the majesty and the magnitude of this word mind. This is the mystery which I'm striving to realize more keenly myself. And he said, it is the mystery hid from the ages. Christ in you, the hope of glory. And the Christ in you is your imagination. John chapter 14, verse 3 says, I go to prepare a place for you. That's your imagination. The I is your imagination. And if I go and prepare a place for you, this is how the mind works through your imagination. I will come again. Your imagination is coming again and take you to myself. That is the fulfillment of your desire. That where I am, that where your fulfilled desire is, you may be also. The desire does this through you. What you're praying for does it through you, for you. Hebrews 11:3 helps to clarify it. It says, things which are seen were not made of things that do appear. In other words, don't judge according to appearances. Do you know what you're looking at? Things which are seen are not made of things that do appear. Another way of understanding it is that things in your life cannot cause other things in your life. And bottom line, that is saying disease cannot cause sickness in your life, except that you believe it and it is done unto you as you believe. Now, if you believe it does, then you give it power to do it. Things which are seen were not made of things that do appear. Things that you see don't cause things in your life. And things that the doctors see. Opinions can cause things in your life if you believe it. Things which are seen were not made of things that do appear. There's another cause behind it, and the cause is in your mind. It is all in your mind. Imagination visualizes what faith knows to be true, then acts as though it is the thing itself, says Neville in his writing. Let me reread that. Imagination visualizes what faith knows to be true, then acts as though it is the thing itself. Now, boy, I could sit here and talk for another 15 or 20 minutes just on that one quote alone, but we don't have the time to, but I need to throw it out there. And I'm going to reread it again and watch for the unfoldment of that as we continue. Imagination visualizes what faith knows to be true, then acts as though it is the thing itself. Faith is imagination in action. Imagination is a faculty and a feature of God in man. Imagine, remember now, I talked about what is mind, we're talking about what is imagination. Imagination functions as the magnetic energy of creation, which is desire. Imagination is the way or the law of mind in action. What is mind? Now, imagination is the way. Imagination is the law of mind in action. This is the workings of mind. The workings of mind, imagination. Imagination works as the function of mind. Imagination, and how does it do it? Imagination does something. It works through chemical change. Imagination coalesces all the elements. It's a chemicalizer, it's an engineer. Imagination coalesces. Coalesces means it draws, it does something, it's created. Imagination coalesces all the elements of this spiritual substance. I said mind is spiritual substance. Imagination coalesces all the elements of this spiritual substance, which is mind, which is this unknown stuff, which is divine intelligence that permeates and interpenetrates everything, this unknown substance, tangible and intangible, visible and invisible. It is in all things. All things is in mind, and mind is in all things. That's your beginning of understanding, beginning of your understanding. It's all in mind. I leave out the article "the" to make it more universal and everywhere present. Instead of saying it's all in the mind, we're saying it's all in mind. Everything is in mind. There is no exception. Everything is in mind. Imagination now, a faculty, a function of God, the chemicalizer here, that causes chemical changes in this invisible substance, spiritual substance, which is mind, this great unknown substance. Imagination coalesces all the elements of the spiritual substance, which is divine intelligence. It is divine intelligence. It's God that is in everything. It permeates and interpenetrates everything mind does, tangible and intangible, visible and invisible, everywhere present and everywhere equally present. Mind is, God is as mind. But it works by law, the law. And by the law of mind action, there's a law. There's a law of mind action. And by the law of mind action, it brings into manifestation any form or experience man desires or whatever man thinks into it, this spiritual substance. The law of attraction, the law of creation. Mark 11, verse 24 says, therefore, so beware, therefore beware, therefore be alert, therefore be conscious of, therefore don't be asleep, therefore don't look outside yourself, therefore I say unto you, therefore I am warning you, therefore I am teaching you, therefore I'm admonishing you that what things soever you're thinking about, that you're desiring, that you're praying for, that you are aspiring to, that you speak your word for, that you're knowing, that you're believing. When you pray, and you're always praying, there's not a moment that you're not praying. Believe whatever you're believing. Believe that you're receiving. Just know that it's law. You are receiving it. You will have it. You shall have it. That's not a future promise. That's not futuristic. It's a law. You're going to get it. It's definite. You will have it. It will come back to you. It's talking about the law of karma right there. Therefore, I say unto you, I'm warning you, be careful. What things soever you're believing, that you're desiring, that you ask for, you'll surely get it. And it's done unto you as you believe. So it's law. So your next sentence says, the law, therefore, this law that I just described, the law in action, therefore may be defined as mind in action, producing the many out of the one by the power of thought, says Ernest Holmes' brother, Fenwick Holmes, in his book. The law, therefore, may be defined as mind in action, producing the many out of the one by the power of thought. And so the question that we are established, that I call it the Socratic question, is what is real and unreal and does not exist? Sickness does not exist. It's not real. Here I am suffering and I'm sick and I'm in pain. Here I am in grief. Here I am in unforgiveness. Here I am in depravity. Here I am in homelessness or loneliness or whatever. How can I not believe that this problem is not real? Hebrews 11:3 says, things which are seen were not made of things that do appear. Mingling Minds by Ervin Seale. These are his words. Is it all in your mind? It is not among the kindest of remarks to say to the sick person, it's all in your mind. Certainly, it is not the truest statement. For what is most often implied by such statement is that the pain, the sickness, the problem is not real. That when the sufferer knows it. If you feel a pain, you know that you do, whatever its source and cause. To say that pain, that sickness, that suffering is just imagination, quote unquote, is to belittle the word and faculty of imagination by suggesting that imagination is an airy, dreamy, and unreal fancy. Whereas in all truth, imagination is the creative faculty of the mind. Ideas are the beginnings of all things, and imagination is the faculty that engineers them into form and function. Imagination is a faculty of God in man. It is the workhorse of God in man. It's the engineer of God, as a function of God that is innate. It's a part of you, part of your mind. Unfortunately, among humankind, he says, the imagination is much more skillful in digging holes than in rearing structures of peace and happiness. And then he quotes Quimby. He says, Quimby said, I never use the word as others do. When people think they have a disease, when people think they have a disease, which I know they do not, I do not ascribe it to their imagination. I don't use the word imagination as others do. When people think they have a disease, which I know they do not, I do not ascribe it to their imagination, but to the fact that they have been deceived. Then he goes on in his writings, the Quimby manuscripts, to explain what he means by that. Then we go back to Ervin Seale's words in his book, Mingling Minds. He says, because he was just quoting Quimby there, his book is based on Quimby's writings. He says, we shall continue to emphasize and enlarge and deepen the understanding that pain is in the mind. We shall do this, however, in a particular sort of way. Now, he said, it's all in the mind, and then he said it's really not in the mind, and now he's coming back to wrap around. Let me tell you how Quimby explained that it is in the mind, but in a peculiar sort of way. It is in the mind. It's in the mind in a particular sort of way, and that's the mystery. That is the conundrum. That is the paradox right here, and I'm going to reread it because what we're looking for to be able to practice this individually and in a specialized way, which meaning personalizing it and use it in our own individual life, you have to understand how pain is in the mind in a particular sort of way. What is that particular sort of way? Let me tell you, I know what he's going to say, And I know what he is saying, but do I know? Do I know in a way that I can right now heal myself or cause healing for myself in my own life for this pain that I am experiencing as I am talking to you right now in my life? That's my goal. I know what he's saying, but I got to know it. Let's reread it. What we're looking for is how to understand it and then practice it, what he is saying, how it is in your mind in a particular sort of way. We shall continue to emphasize and enlarge and deepen the understanding that pain is in the mind in a particular sort of way. Is it all in your mind? Most certainly, because it cannot be, and this is why it's all in your mind, because it cannot be anywhere else. See, it is not anywhere else. It is not in your leg, as I am experiencing it in my leg right now. No, most certainly, because it cannot be there in your leg. It cannot be in your stomach. It cannot be in your heart. It cannot be in your prostate. It cannot be in your blood pressure. It cannot be in your high blood pressure, your sugar, your this. It cannot be there. It cannot be in this relationship. No. It cannot be in anything in this world. The only place that it can be is in your mind. Where there is no mind, there can be no experience. Stop and meditate. Let me know when you're ready to go on. The Quimby writings frequently recall the case of the young Army captain who had been wounded in the wrist by a weapon and whose arm had been amputated below the elbow. You got that? A young Army captain, his wrist has been wounded and they had to amputate it below the elbow. He still felt the pain of the wound and it caused him much suffering. Where was he feeling the pain? Below the elbow after the amputation. Nothing is there, but he's experiencing pain. Although the surgeons had removed the arm, they had not been able to remove the pain. They removed the arm and the pain was still there where there was no arm. Today, doctors call this phantom pain. Now, where was the pain? It was not in the arm, for the arm was gone. It was not in the flesh or matter, for there was none. But yet he felt the pain in the arm that was not there. That being a fact, where was the pain? It was in his mind, and it was real. So it was real. He felt it and suffered from it. So now we're looking at the particular sort of way. It was not in his mind in the sense of imagination or delusion. When we say it's a delusion, it's all in his mind, but rather in his mind as a strong impression, persisting from the day when he had a healthy arm and the arm was shot. So the mind is a medium for two kinds of intelligence or information. He's going to go from this point forward, explain that the two kinds of information, the two kinds of intelligence. The mind is a medium for two kinds of intelligence or information. So what was just read here, we stop and think about
our own pain, our own sickness, our own problem, our own whatever it is that we're praying for or about, something that you're trying to change in prayer. Just like the missing arm, the arm is not there. For us, that problem is not there. What we're experiencing, well, it's there, but that's not the source of the pain, or that's not where the pain is. We still have the arm is not amputated. So the heart is there, the leg is there, the problem is there, the prostate is there, the kidneys is there, our organs, but it's still there. But just like for the arm that's amputated is not there, and yet the pain is there, then what I have to do for myself is say, likewise, for this pain that I feel in the leg, I have to look at it like the arm that's not there. The pain is not there. The pain for me is in the mind, just the same as the pain for the young soldier, where the arm is not there, is in his mind. It has to be true for me. It has to be the same thing, same principle. So if I got a problem in the heart, then the problem is not there in the heart, just like for the soldier whose arm is not there, it is in his mind. The same is true to me, it's in my mind. It's like in the prostate. So just like for the soldier whose arm is not there here in the prostate, the problem is not there, then it's in my mind. So I've been spending all my time working with the doctors and everybody else. And when I say I mean a person is still trying to heal the problem where the problem is not. Then why would you take the medicine and go forward trying to heal the problem where the problem is not? Well, I will do that, but I'm just doing it for temporary relief. I'm not believing that it's going to heal the problem. I think what I want basically is a cure. And there's a cure and healing is not the same. I'll buy the cure for right now because it relieves me of the pain. So I'm going to take the medicine for surcease. I'm going to take the medicine for relief. I'm going to take the medicine to numb the pain. I'm going to take the medicine to give me more time, to buy me more time to live longer so that I can heal the source of the problem, which is in my mind. Yeah, I'm going to take the surgery. I'm going to take the medicine. I'm going to take the help. I'm going to take this. I'm going to take the diet. I'm going to use anything that's available to me to lengthen my life, to give me more time, to relieve me of the pain, to give me sense, give me peace. But I'm not taking it believing that it's healing the pain. That it's healing. It's curing, but it's not healing. Quimby calls them two directions. Intelligence comes from two sources: the environment or material world and the immaterial world, or from the world of form and the world of formlessness or spirit. Quimby calls them two directions. Intelligence comes from two sources: the environment or material world and the immaterial world, or the formlessness or spirit. The biblical words for these are heaven and earth. Which are repeated impressions from the same source. Repeated impressions from the same source become established as assumptions and presumptions. And with emphasis become obsessions or fixed states of mind. Today, we refer to these fixed states of mind as being subconscious, but the term was not current in Quimby's time. This term subconscious was a term invented after Quimby's time. His way was to distinguish between thoughts as the conscious function of mind and beliefs as the subconscious function. Ervin Seale says, I found that my own thoughts were, no, he's quoting Quimby still. I found that my own thoughts were one thing and my belief another. Quimby said, if I really believed in anything, the effect would follow, whether I was thinking of it or not. To go back to the Army captain with the severed arm, and then we will close after revisiting that rather than covering all of this tonight.
To go back to the army captain with the severed arm, we can see that his senses were attached to the idea of an arm. His senses had not yet attached themselves to the idea of a lost arm. He had not changed his mind. The physical arm had been removed, but his sense still retained the awareness or sensation of an arm. And that is why he felt pain. Quimby then, in treating him, took hold of the stump and carefully explained the situation to him. The stump he did not feel. That's the part. But the hand was as real as the other. He felt the hand, and the doctor could not change. The doctor, not Quimby, but the doctor who had been treating him. He felt the hand, and he felt the hand that was gone. He felt the hand, and the doctor could not change his mind by telling him that the hand was gone. This was false in the true sense, for his hand was part of his senses, and the phenomenon that could be seen was nothing to his senses. He had a hand, and it troubled him. He had a hand in his mind, in his senses, he still had a hand, and it troubled him. So Quimby says, I took hold of the stump where it has been cut off, and then felt of the stump and became quiet with him. And it satisfied him that it was better to have one arm and be happy and well than having two and be in torment. Now, if Quimby had been as unable as the doctors, if Quimby had been unable as the doctors, if Quimby had been as unable as the doctors to change the captain's mind, he could not have gotten rid of the pain and misery. His pain was in his mind. We have tried now to establish and embellish one of the main concepts of Quimby's philosophy and science and practice, namely that disease is not independent of the mind, cannot and does not exist by itself, and that sickness follows the belief that disease is independent of the mind, that it follows the belief that pain is in the mind. Where was the disease before you knew about it? Mind the knower is also mind the maker. So Quimby says, when I say the disease is in the mind, the sickness is in the mind, I mean that it does not exist anywhere else. And so it is.